So again, this is BJ Lindgren. I'm from Synap. We are the Synap North. We are the creators of eLoggers, and I'm going to do the webinar for you this morning. And this is our second eLogger webinar, and we're going to be covering the reporting methods today. We will be scheduling another webinar towards the end of the summer, and that webinar is going to cover follow-up tracking in eLogger. And then we're also going to cover the integration between the eLogger and the Trackit systems and show you the additional tracking that can be handled with the Trackit program. Later on this fall, we're going to explore the settings in eLogger, and we're going to actually unveil a new settings page and show you how that's going to operate when it's released at that time. And as always, we would love to hear your input regarding future topics and additional subjects that we can cover. So like I said, we're going to do things a little bit differently today. I'm going to have you guys ask your questions as they come up throughout the webinar today. And again, just press the *6 on your phone to unmute your phone, and then let us know who you are and where you're calling from, and ask your question. Once you're done talking, you can again press the *6 to mute yourself, and so then we won't have the background noise in our way. Okay, so let me switch over to eLogger here. And in our last webinar, we created an incident investigation form, and since then I've went ahead and entered some data and created some incidents in eLogger, and today we're going to be creating a monthly report that should summarize those incidents, and I'm going to show you a couple different methods of doing that. At the end of the webinar then, we're also going to do a little work on a shift turnover report and just show you some options on how you can maybe set that up in your own organization. So first thing we're going to do is the same thing we did last time, is we're going to go back to the administration function, and we're going to check out the current version, and that is on the About tab in eLogger. I am looking at version 2012.2 in eLogger. So if you want to check that out after the demo, if your version is not the most current version of eLogger, you may want to get an upgrade scheduled, and you can do that just by emailing the support@synapnorth.com, and we can get something scheduled. Okay, I'm going to do a quick review of what we did on our last webinar, and I'm just going to show it to you from the user side of the application. So I'm going to click on the Add New Entry, and last time we actually created an incident form, and I've made a couple of changes to that, and I'm not ready to share them yet, so I'll do that towards the end of the webinar. So if you remember, we set up a status section, status template. We set up a classification, a details, some detailed descriptions, and then down towards the bottom, we created an injury-specific section. And then below that, we had created some acknowledgement sections where the department managers automatically get emailed, and the facility manager gets emailed based on different statuses. So today what we're going to do is, I'd like to create a monthly report and know about all of the incidents that took place during the month. Now, as you know, there's several different ways to get information out of eLogger, and we're going to explore a few of those. But what I'm interested in from a reporting standpoint is maybe not all the details, just a high level. So I'm going to show you how you can get that. So let's start by, we're just going to go to the View Logs page, and this is the month of June, so let's take a look at the May data. And what I want to see is, I want to know how many incidents I had in the month of May. So to do that, I can simply change my date range to the month of May and click the Go key. So we can see that I had 4 incidents during the month of May. So if I want a quick report of those, it's easy enough to just click on the Get Detail report up in the right-hand corner here. And that link actually corresponds with the check marks that go down the right-hand side of the screen. It's only going to include the items with a check mark. So if I click on that, I'm going to open a PDF. Somewhere. There we go. And I'll make it a little smaller so we can see most of it. And you can see we've now got a report of our 4 incidents. And it basically took 4 pages to get all of them on one report. Now, this is not a very high level report, and if you had 50 or 75 incidents, this probably would not be an acceptable report for you. So I'm going to go ahead and close that down, and we can go to our search logs page, and we could actually just put our, the same date range in. And choose our incidents log and get those entries, make sure we still got our 4 entries, and yes we do. So I could create a summary report for that, and that's down at the bottom, and I'll get that report and open it up. Okay, so the report is the correct length this time because I only want 1 page, but I'd really like to know the status, the type, the employee name, and none of that information is included on this summary report. So this is not actually going to be an option for me either. The summary report is really good when you are looking for a report on your comments. But since that's not what I'm looking for, I am going to close that down, and I'm going to go with option 3, which is get the results as an Excel spreadsheet. And so we can see that we have all kinds of stuff here now. I actually go all the way out to AF, which has got to be about 30 columns. And now I'm going to have to go ahead and delete a whole bunch of columns and move some things around so I get the report that I'm looking for. So while this will work, I still don't think it's the best option for me to get a monthly report. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to teach you guys a little bit about another templates feature, and it's called the external data query. And we are going to utilize that to make ourselves a monthly report. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go back to the System Administration tab, and we are going to set up a required entry. And a required entry is simply a reminder that you want to complete a certain task at a certain time. So what I'm going to say is that for Synap North location, on my monthly report log, once a month, so if I need to do something more frequently than weekly, I would choose day of week. Less frequently, I would choose day of month. So I'm going to say on every month, on the 1st, I want a reminder to create the incident monthly report. And when this pops up, it pretty much fills in all the fields for you, and we'll show that. But I'm going to ask for it to show up at 7 o'clock in the morning so that when I get in at 7:30, it's sitting there waiting for me on the 1st. That said, for purposes of this demonstration, I'm going to also make it show up on the 12th, which is today, and right now it is 10:13 on my clock, so I'm going to say 10:15 and save that. Whoops. So that when I'm done doing this, that reminder is going to be sitting there waiting for me, and we can actually do the monthly report. Okay, so now I'm going to go to the Templates tab. And you can see down here that I've created a template called Monthly Report Incidents. But the first thing I want to point out is there's some codes on here that you need to know before you start creating one of these templates. And since I'm looking for the status, the type, the employee name, and the detailed description, I need to find those fields, and I need to go take a look at them. If I click on Show External Data Query Editor on the bottom of the screen. I clicked on the wrong one, sorry, my fault. There's another one that has status on here. Oh, how about the status one? There we go. Down here in the bottom under the available fields, it's going to have this status underscore 62. I'm looking for that 62 number that associates with the status field, and I just need to write those down next to the fields that I'm trying to collect on this new template. So I've got status 62, and then I'd want to go find my type and employee number, and they are right here. And there's type 43, employee name 44. So I need those numbers written down, and I'll show you why in just a minute. Okay, so before the webinar here today, I actually created the template to collect the monthly report information. And it's going to look something like, I added 5 fields. I want a column for my status, I want a column for my type, I want my employee name, the detailed description, and then I'm actually going to add a comments field on here. And the comments field is going to be, as I'm preparing the monthly report, if I want to write any comments in on there about each one of these, that's what the comments is going to be for. Now you can see my field type is read only, and I've made it that because it's just displaying associated log entries, and people don't need to change that. If we wanted to change something, we would change the original log entry itself. But the comments field is text, so I can edit that. So it's going to look something like this. You're going to have the columns going across, and then at the end you'll have a place to edit it. Okay, so we're going to talk a little bit about external data queries now. And before we start, I don't want to turn this into a SQL writing or a syntax class here. I'm going to do this at a very high level. If you work in the IT department, it's probably going to be a very low level, and if you're a user who's never written a query before, it's going to look like Greek to you. So I don't want you to be scared off by that. Let me just say that we have people here who are very good at writing SQL queries, and if you want to do one of these and need some help, feel free to contact us and we'll help you out. But this is actually the feature in eLogger that you can utilize to connect to external software systems, like maybe your maintenance management system or Pi, Data Historian, or other types of databases that you may have in-house. And you can actually connect to them and pull in information into eLogger from those systems. Now it does require an ODBC connection, but again, if you have any questions on how that works or anything, certainly talk to us and we'll see what we can do to help. So when you do an external data query, the first thing you have to have is a connection string. And by the way, while you're working on it, keep the check mark out of this enabled so that a user doesn't stumble upon it accidentally while you're still working on it. And then just put the check mark back in there when you're ready to start using it in your production environment. So a connection string. I'm going to go ahead and show you what a connection string is. It looks something like this Greek word over here on the right. So yes, that's confusing, but if I edit it, what you can see is that it's actually code for 5 pieces of information. So what you're doing is you're telling eLogger where to go look for this information you're after. And in this particular case, we are getting our information right out of eLogger. So what we're doing is we're providing the provider, the server name, the user ID, the password, and the database name. And when we give those, it goes ahead and it creates the connection string for us. And if you had, your maintenance management system you were connecting to, again, so long as it'll take an ODBC connection, you can go ahead and put that information in, and then you can choose the source that you want to actually write this data query from. Now, without getting into too many details, a SQL query basically says select this set of information, and then it says from the name of the database and the tables that you're selecting from, and then there's always a where clause that says what conditions need to be met to get that data. And in some cases you can put like sort orders and things like that on the bottom. We don't have that in this one, so I'm going to start with the select statement. And basically I'm selecting 5 different fields. And the first one is just the date and time of the log. And the reason I'm doing that is because I want to validate that I'm getting the right information. So I'm going to select the date and time that goes along with these. I'm not going to include it on the monthly report because I know I'm looking for the past month's worth of incidents, but I'm going to select it